Imagine waking up every day with a single mission, to make every hour count like a production line that can't stop. Now think about it, and be brutally honest with yourself. Do you have control over your routine, or is your routine chaos disguised as busyness? Most people wake up already late. They rush through breakfast. They get distracted by notifications, respond to useless messages, and feel productive because they are busy. That is not productivity. That is slavery disguised as activity. And, worse, you are paying for it with your life. Literally. Time is life in its raw form. And those who waste time waste what they have most valuable. I never believed in chaotic days. I believed in systems. My daily routine was a personal production system. Each block of my day was designed as if it were a machine on an assembly line. The goal was simple: do more with less. And do it right, from the start. No rework. No unnecessary improvisation. And above all, no wasting time on things that don't generate real results. Today, I'm going to open up my routine to you. The mechanism that allowed me to multiply my profits in a predictable way. A routine that anyone can apply. Simple, direct, uncompromising. If you want real results, start by copying this model, then adapt it. But start. And start now. Wake up early? Sure. But that's not all. Wake up with a plan. The day started before the sun rose, because productivity starts before the world starts pulling you into distractions. No cell phone, no news, no emails. The first hour of my day was sacred, and you should treat it as if it were the first screw in the first piece of your day. If it goes in crooked, everything that comes after is misaligned. My morning started with clarity, silence, focus. My first few minutes weren't wasted, they were invested. I didn't meditate like a monk, I meditated like an engineer. I visualized my day as if it were an assembly line. Every task, every meeting, every decision, everything fit together. Everything had a purpose. After that came planning. Yes, every day. Planning daily is like adjusting machinery. Those who don't plan every day spend their time correcting mistakes. That's a waste of energy, focus, and life. I spent 15 minutes organizing the gears of my day. Priority tasks, specific goals, estimated time. Everything had a beginning, middle, and end. Now pay attention here. This part is the heart of the system, the productive block. It's the most valuable time of my day. 2 uninterrupted hours. No distractions, no interruptions, no just a minute. When I enter this block, I'm inside the factory. No one can get me out of there. And it's in this block that I solved the most important problems, where I created, where I decided, where I really produced value. And you need to understand this. Your mind needs to be trained like a highly skilled worker. There's no point in wanting to build an empire if you can't focus for 2 hours without getting distracted. Everything you build with focus becomes capital. Everything you build with distraction becomes sand. After 2 hours of maximum production, take a strategic break. This is not leisure time. It is time to recharge your batteries. Eat something simple. Move around. Sometimes, go for a walk. I used this time to mentally review what had been done. The break was part of the process, because even the most efficient machine needs maintenance. And your mind is your most valuable machine. Now understand this. The afternoon was the tactical shift. I used it for meetings, reviews, contacts, operational adjustments. No creating from scratch, no big decisions. The mind no longer has the same peak performance as in the morning. So, the use was strategic. Important activities, but ones that don't require the same level of creative energy. At the end of the afternoon, it was time to close production. I reviewed everything, I documented, I adjusted processes, daily learning. Every factory needs to measure. Every mind that wants to grow needs to record, adjust, improve. There is no growth without measurement, and there is no efficiency without review. And at night, no marathon TV series, no empty social media. Nighttime was input time. Reading, studying, writing, but everything with a purpose. Everything with a goal. I fed my mind for the next day with content that added value. Because a well-fed mind sleeps better. And those who sleep well produce more. Sleep is part of production, and you need to start treating your sleep like you treat raw materials in a factory, with quality control. So you see, my routine wasn't about rigidity. It was about life engineering. Every part had a function. Every decision was designed to generate more with less. This isn't about being productive. This is about being unbeatable. If you're listening to me, if you feel like the days are passing and you don't know where your energy, your clarity, your purpose has gone, you need to stop right now and understand that routine is not a prison. Routine is freedom. When well constructed, it takes you out of chaos and puts you in control. And if you've made it this far, you already understand that this isn't a motivational lecture. This is an assembly line for your new life. I'm showing you the model. It's up to you now to execute it with excellence. Now let's take it a step further. It's not enough to understand routine. You have to internalize the principle behind it, the obsession with efficiency. And if there's one thing you need to engrave in your mind from now on, it's this. Productivity isn't about doing more things. It's about eliminating what doesn't need to be done. It's about cutting out the unnecessary as if you were removing rust from a gear. Because rust, my friend, slows everything down, destroys everything, and if you let it, it completely paralyzes your productive machine. In my day, every second lost in the factory was costly. A loose screw slowed down the line. A poorly trained worker slowed down the pace. And you know what's most interesting? People always thought the problem was external. The raw materials, the supplier, the market. But 90% of the time, the problem was in the internal process. It's just like your life. You think it's the crisis, the competition, the algorithm, the boss, but it's your internal process that's out of whack. That's why I want you to understand once and for all. Your routine is your personal assembly line, and you are the chief engineer. If it's poorly designed, you have no right to blame anyone else. The responsibility is yours, and so is the solution. Now listen to me carefully. One of the biggest mistakes I saw in my workers, and that I see today in people trying to start a business, grow, change their lives, is wanting to do everything alone, all the time. That's operational stupidity. No one builds an efficient production line by carrying the parts alone. You need a system, standardization, and skilled people around you. This also applies to your personal life. You need to delegate, automate, and simplify. Want an example? I woke up at the same time, ate the same foods, read the same reports, reviewed the same metrics every day. Why? Because every useless decision at the beginning of the day wears on your mind. And I didn't waste my mind on things that didn't generate profit. This applies to you today. Are you making decisions about what to wear, what to have for breakfast, which task to start first? You're behind. Every choice without a pattern is a delay in your mental assembly line. And here comes another fundamental point. Cadence. A good factory has rhythm. Not too fast, not too slow. A sustainable rhythm. Your routine needs that. Rhythm. It's not about crazy intensity for 3 days and collapse the following week. It's about brutal consistency for years. That's what builds empires. And those who don't understand that break. Or worse, they drag themselves through life without ever getting anywhere. Most people don't understand the power of a well-adjusted routine because they live in reactive mode. They wait for problems to knock on their door before they act. They live putting out fires. I never allowed that. And you shouldn't either. In my factory, the focus was on solving problems before they happened. Prevention, diagnosis, daily learning. If you spend your days solving problems, it's because your routine is out of whack. There's no inspection, no review, no personal quality control. Want to change that? Start now by creating your daily diagnostic log. At the end of each day, look at what you've done and ask yourself, where did I waste time? Where did my energy slip? What can be standardized tomorrow? That's what separates the average operator from the engineer of their own life. Another thing, people underestimate the power of small adjustments. They think they need a revolution to change their lives. Nonsense. A factory doesn't need to be demolished to produce better. Just adjust a conveyor belt, realign a robotic arm, reprogram a task. You don't have to turn your life upside down. You just need to improve 1% a day. But you need to do it with relentless discipline. You're listening to me now and thinking, that's too much for me. My life is too messy. Let me tell you something, my first workshop was also a mess. I started out taking apart watches in the barn on my farm. Nothing worked right, but I insisted on order. I insisted on continuous improvement, and that turned into a global industry. So don't tell me your life is too messy to start, because mine was too. If you ask me today what the biggest secret of my profit multiplying routine is, I'll answer you with 2 words: productive repetition. I did the same productive things every day, and time did the rest. Most people want excitement, novelty, hustle and bustle. I wanted results. And results come from intelligent repetition, not from uncontrolled emotion. Your life won't change with a brilliant idea. It will change when you stop sabotaging your routine. It will change when you turn your days into a predictable system of value production. It will change when you decide that every hour of your day will serve a real purpose. There's no point in seeking prosperity if your routine is a mental battlefield where you lose every day. The truth is simple, but it takes courage. Courage to say no to what doesn't work. Courage to repeat what works. Courage to stay focused when everything around you is trying to distract you. And above all, courage to take control of your own assembly line. If you apply this routine, if you turn your life into a value factory, you will realize one thing: profits will start to multiply. First, invisible profits: clarity, peace, direction. Then visible profits: results, money, expansion. But it all starts with the simple act of organizing your day as if it were a living machine. Because in the end, that's what life is. A machine that you can operate with excellence or let rust. Are you still here? Then you get it. This isn't about motivation. It's about life engineering. Now let's go deeper. Because a powerful routine cannot survive without a solid emotional foundation. And here comes something that few people talk about. Your emotional stability is the basis of your productivity. If you are emotionally unstable, your routine becomes a minefield. And you know, what happens to a factory where the floor is unstable? Everything collapses. Many people talk about productivity, but they neglect emotional control as if it were a minor detail. It's not. It's the invisible engine of your efficiency. I've never trusted an unstable worker. Because a man who doesn't control himself will never control a process. It's the same with you. If you don't control your anger, your fear, your anxiety, your laziness, you're out of the game. You're sabotaging your own production. I treated my mind like I treated my equipment, daily maintenance, because I knew that the mind is the first gear in the machine. If it jams, nothing turns. I didn't allow myself to start the day with emotional noise. No starting by resolving conflicts, reading catastrophic news, or giving in to haste. My first commitment of the day was to my clarity. Before acting, I aligned my mind. Before producing, I cleaned the system, and you can apply this now. How? By creating a simple mental alignment ritual. It can be 10 minutes of silence, it can be targeted reading, it can be writing down your goals for the day. But it has to be repeated. And more importantly, it has to come before any external interference. Don't let the world enter your mind before you organize it. Now let's talk about something that separates the mediocre from the extraordinary: discipline. I'm not talking about forcing yourself to work when you're tired. I'm talking about operating with consistency, even when your emotions are fluctuating. Discipline is what you do when you don't feel like it, and that's what defines a true builder of results. Want to know why my business thrived even in times of crisis? Because my routine didn't depend on motivation. It depended on a system. And the system operated every day, rain or shine, with enthusiasm or fatigue, with money or without. Because if you only produce when you feel good, you're operating as an amateur. Professionals don't wait to be inspired. They simply execute, and they adjust along the way. This is where many people fail, because they romanticize productivity. They only want to work when they feel creative. Let me give you the cold, hard truth. Real creativity comes from disciplined repetition. I created the greatest industrial solutions of my life not when I was inspired, but when I was focused, repeating, testing, adjusting. Repetition is the mother of innovation. There is no genius without consistency. Now I want you to look at your day. Observe with brutal honesty. When do you sabotage yourself? Is it after lunch? Is it when you feel alone? Is it when something gets out of control? Identify it, name it, map it out. Every emotional failure needs to be treated as an operational failure, and it must be corrected with action, not excuses. I always said, don't fix the man, fix the system. This applies to you as well. Stop blaming yourself and start fixing the process. If you always procrastinate at the same time, adjust the task for that time slot. If your energy drops after certain conversations, eliminate or reschedule those contacts. If you lose focus with your cell phone, take it off the production line. It's that simple and effective. Life does not forgive waste. Every poorly managed emotion becomes wasted energy, and energy is capital. Those who learn to protect their emotional energy gain a competitive advantage. Because while others oscillate between euphoria and frustration, you maintain your cadence. And cadence is what sustains the building of any legacy. But I need to give you a warning. When you adjust your routine and become highly efficient, you will make people uncomfortable. You will seem obsessive. You will be called cold, rigid, even arrogant. Ignore them. They don't understand that you are operating at a level that most people can't handle. They live in cycles of chaos. You are creating a cycle of mastery, and those who live in chaos will always try to sabotage those who have discovered order. And you know what's funny? The same people who criticize you today will be the first to admire you tomorrow when the results come in. I've seen it hundreds of times. They called me crazy for paying above-average wages, for creating a revolutionary assembly line, for believing that workers could be treated like partners. Then they copied everything, because results shut up any skeptic. So keep going. Maintain your system. Reinforce your discipline, protect your mind, because in the end, those who master routine master destiny. Now let's talk about one of the most neglected cogs in the modern routine, strategic rest. Yes, you heard right. Rest is part of the system. But not just any rest. I'm talking about intentional, calculated, productive rest. Just as a machine needs preventive maintenance to avoid future breakdowns, your body and mind need scheduled breaks to maintain performance. Most people rest like they turn off a broken machine. Only when they are exhausted. This is operational stupidity. You need to rest before you break down. You need to understand your energy cycle as you understand your production cycle. And here's a principle I applied rigorously. Rest at the peak of performance to stay at the peak. What does that mean? That you should stop at the height of your performance, not at exhaustion. Stop before you fall. This gives you more productive time and more consistency in the long run. I scheduled my breaks like someone schedules factory maintenance, with a fixed time, defined duration, and clear objective. And yes, even rest needs to have a goal. It can be mental clarity, physical recovery, creative inspiration, whatever, but it has to be part of the system. Don't just throw yourself on the couch like a zombie. That's not rest. That's energy bankruptcy in disguise. And another crucial point. The environment where you carry out your routine is part of the system. I built factories that ran like clockwork. There was no visual clutter. There were no random noises. There was no excess stimulation. Everything was standardized for productivity. And you need to do this in your home, in your office, in your bedroom. The place where you work needs to look like what you want to achieve. Order, clarity, direction. A disorganized environment creates a disorganized mind. It's that simple. Your environment is like the temperature of a foundry. If it's unstable, the metal won't mold properly. If it's poorly calibrated, the final product will be flawed. Adjust it. Eliminate excess objects. Standardize the essentials. Create an altar of focus. Because you need to stop relying on willpower to be productive. You need to rely on the system, and the environment is a vital part of the system. Now, I want to take you to another point that few understand, but which defines the masters of routine, the strategic use of repetition. Do you know what made my assembly line a milestone in the history of industry? Repetition. But not mindless repetition. It was repetition with refinement. Each turn in the process was faster, more accurate, cheaper. That's a well-done routine. Repetition with continuous improvement. You don't need 1,000 different strategies. You need one that works, and you need to repeat it until it becomes excellence. Most people jump from technique to technique, from method to method, as if they were looking for a miracle. There are no miracles. There is process. And process requires patience and refinement. And I'm going to tell you something that maybe no one has ever told you. Your freedom lies in your repetition. That's right. The freedom you seek, financial, emotional, existential, is hidden within the discipline of repetition, because it is what frees your mind to think about what really matters. While everyone else is spending energy deciding what to do, you are already doing it. While others struggle to stay focused, you are reaping the rewards of years of consistency. That is real freedom. I didn't wake up every day motivated. I woke up programmed. My routine was so solid that even on bad days, it worked. Even when I was tired, I kept going. Even when I was discouraged, I delivered. That's what builds great legacies. It's not the brilliance of spectacular days. It's the solidity of ordinary days well executed. And here's something you need to get into your head once and for all. You are not what you do once in a while. You are what you do every day. Your character, your results, your bank account, your health, your relationships. Everything is a reflection of what you repeat. So stop looking for the extraordinary. Build the ordinary with excellence. Make the basics unbeatable. That's what changes the game. Now stop and think with me. What if you applied this routine for 7 days, just 7? With discipline, with focus, with intensity. Wake up early with purpose, uninterrupted focus on the main tasks. Review at the end of the day. Smart breaks. Repetition with improvement. 7 days. Do you doubt that your life would start to fall into place? I don't doubt it, because I've seen it happen hundreds of times. But I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to provoke you, to call you to action, to push you into your own system, because once you feel the power of a well-calibrated routine, you'll never accept chaos again. So, start now. Grab a pen and paper, write down your ideal day, what time you wake up, what you do first thing in the morning, what your main productive block is, where your breaks are, how you end your day. Draw it out. Adjust, execute, repeat, and watch. In a few days, you'll start operating like a high-performance assembly line. And at that moment, you'll no longer be a hostage to time, emotion, or luck. You'll become the engineer of your own life. Now that you've started positioning yourself as the engineer of your own life, it's time to take that system to a new level. Routine automation. I'm not just talking about technology. I'm talking about automating decisions, flows, and behaviors. True freedom comes when your routine operates autonomously. When you don't have to think to do the right thing, you just do it. Because the system has been installed with such repetition and clarity that it runs almost by itself. Want an example? I didn't decide whether to go to work. I just went to work. The decision was made years ago. The same logic applies to you. You shouldn't decide every day whether you're going to work out, study, or focus. You should decide once. Then install it as a fixed command, like a start button on your production line. Press it, and it runs. No discussion, no negotiation. This automation gives you something that is worth more than anything else: mental energy. The human brain consumes more energy deciding than executing, and most people are exhausted because they spend their lives deciding what should already be decided. That's why your routine needs to become protocol, repeatable, standardized, foolproof. But be careful, automating is not robotizing. It is liberating. It is allowing your creative mind to focus on what really matters: innovation, strategy, leadership. When your foundation is solid, your mind can fly. But without a foundation, even the best ideas turn to dust. And here comes another pillar of my system: conscious delegation. No factory operates at peak performance if the owner tries to do everything himself. I delegated because I knew my time was worth more in strategic decisions than in operational tasks. And if you want to grow, you need to understand this. Everything you do, someone else can do. But no one can think for you. No one can decide the future of your life for you. So delegate what you can. Automate what is repetitive. And focus your energy on what really moves the needle on your results. Want to know if a task deserves your direct attention? Ask yourself, does this have a direct impact on my main goals? If not, it is either eliminated, delegated, or automated. It's that simple. and brutally effective. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated weapons in the routine: closing the day. Most people end their day as if they were hurriedly turning off a switch. But the end of the day is the key to continuous improvement. It's review time, and those who don't review don't evolve. I reviewed every day what was done, what didn't get done, what could be improved, where there were failures, where there was progress. It was like reviewing production at the end of a shift. And that's where I planned the next day. I never left planning for the next day, because planning in the chaos of the morning is like trying to fix the engine while the car is moving. Do you really want to improve your life? Create a closing ritual. 10 minutes. Silence. Review. Planning. Gratitude. And preparation. That's when the brain assimilates. That's when patterns are set. That's when the system calibrates itself. Without that, you live restarting from scratch every day. And no one prospers by starting from scratch forever. And since we're talking about calibration, let me tell you what I did religiously. A thorough, weekly review. 1 day a week, usually on Saturday morning, I did a complete audit of the system. I analyzed what worked, what didn't work, what needed to be adjusted. No production line works well without weekly maintenance, neither does your routine. This habit alone can multiply your results, because it prevents mistakes from becoming the norm. It eliminates the accumulation of failures. It refines the process. And that, my friend, is what separates the builders from the passengers in life. Now you may be asking yourself, but what about balance, Ford? What about time for family, leisure, rest? Let me answer you clearly. Balance is not the absence of effort. Balance is the presence of purpose in every area. I was present for my family because my routine gave me time. I enjoyed myself with peace of mind because my production gave me peace. I rested in peace because my mind was at ease. A well-designed routine does not enslave you. It frees you. A powerful routine does not exhaust you. It strengthens you. Because everything is in its place, each part functioning as it should. Like a well-assembled factory, where each gear operates in harmony. That is a productive life. That is living with excellence. So let's review what you already know and what you need to apply now. Your routine needs to be simple, like a straightforward assembly line, focused like a laser beam cutting through steel, repeatable, like a system that runs with precision, adjustable, like a calibrated machine, and above all, purpose-driven. You're not here to survive the days. You're here to master the days, to turn time into value, to turn routine into a system, to turn life into a legacy. And that starts with simple daily decisions, repeated with brutal discipline. Now we've reached the point that defines who will actually apply this and who will just watch another video. It's time to talk about execution. And execution, to me, is a sacred word. It's the difference between those who live dreaming and those who live building. There is no routine that works without relentless execution. There are no results without applied discipline. And above all, there is no solid wealth without continuous action. You already know what to do. You already understand the system. You have already visualized how it works. But all of that is worthless if you don't take action. And when I say take action, I don't mean acting when you feel like it. I mean acting like someone who operates a production line. One step after another, one block after another, day after day. Because the secret lies in the cadence, in repetition, in consistency. Let me give you a practical example. Many people talk about goals. Few talk about standards. Goals are the destination. Standards are the track. And those who build a routine based on standards will reach their destination, even if it takes time. But those who live only for goals without standards live disappointment after disappointment. Because goals alone do not move the system. Daily standards do. So define your standards. Wake up at a certain time. Do a certain task. Perform a certain activity. It's not about motivation, it's about system. And here comes a principle that has guided my entire life. What you don't standardize, you lose control of. And everything that is out of control becomes waste. Your time, your energy, your life. Now stop and think. What in your routine today is not yet standardized? Your sleep? Your start to the morning? Your focus time? Your diet? Your review cycle? Each of these items that does not have a standard is stealing your productivity. It is eroding your structure. It is sabotaging your results. And don't think it's an exaggeration. A small mistake today, repeated for weeks, becomes a financial hole. A distraction today, fed daily, becomes an abyss of lost time. A bad choice, repeated in silence, becomes a detour with no return. That's why what you need now is to audit your own life. An operational inspection of yourself. Grab a pen and paper. Write down the parts of your day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and analyze. What is working? What is out of alignment? What needs to be eliminated? This is what I did with every industrial process. And it works the same way with your life. And if you have difficulty, remember this. The best way to correct a mistake is to expose it to the light. Put it in front of you. See it clearly. Only then will you gain the power to adjust. What is not seen cannot be corrected, and what is not corrected repeats itself, and what repeats itself defines you. Now comes the last step, the step that transforms routine into personal culture, public commitment. Declare it, write it down, share it, tell the world, or at least the right people, what you are implementing. This increases your sense of responsibility. It turns decisions into agreements, and agreements create legacy. I did this with my workers. Every change was communicated. Every new routine was explained. Because when everyone knows what is being done, there is unity. There is clarity. There is positive pressure. And you can do this at home, at work, with your friends. Share your new routine. Design your new system. Bring other people into this journey. Because there is no production line of excellence with loose and isolated parts. Everything needs to be connected. And finally, remember this. Routine is just the beginning. What it generates is the real goal. It generates mental clarity, decision-making power, emotional stability, financial consistency. It generates a life under control. And a life under control is a life ready to grow, ready to lead, ready to leave a mark. You are now faced with a choice. Either go back to your chaotic routine, reacting to the world, or install, with courage and discipline, your own personal production line. If you choose the second option, get ready, because the result is inevitable. Prosperity, peace, power. Now it's your turn to turn ideas into productive machines. Sign up and share this video with anyone who wants to build a solid legacy. Let's build a world together where every individual operates with excellence, where routine is freedom, and where a job well done is the greatest expression of human greatness.